Ryan was a poor human boy who lived deep under the alien city, inside the old sewer tunnels that most people never visited. The world above was bright, loud, and full of life, but down here everything was dark, wet, and forgotten. Ryan had lived in these tunnels since he was 7. Now he was 13, and he knew every corner, every pipe, and every strange sound that echoed through the night. The air smelled of rust and old water. Drops fell from the ceiling and hit the metal floors like tiny footsteps. Sometimes Ryan wondered if the tunnels were alive. Sometimes he felt watched. But he had learned long ago that fear did not help you survive. What helped was staying quiet, staying sharp, and knowing where danger hid. That night he was searching for scrap metal. He had no food left, and his stomach hurt from hunger. If he sold something in the morning, maybe he could buy a small piece of bread. He searched with a tiny flashlight, its weak yellow beam shaking in his hand. Then he heard it, a soft sound. A cry, not loud, but sharp enough to freeze him. Ryan stopped walking. The sound came again, a weak, painful whimper. He slowly turned off his flashlight. His heart beat fast. Many creatures lived in the deeper sewers, and some of them were not friendly. Some would bite, some would chase. He had seen bones once, and he never forgot. But this sound, it was different. It sounded scared. It sounded like someone trying to breathe through pain. Ryan waited. He listened. The cry came again. This time, he stepped forward. He moved carefully, one foot silent after the other. He followed the small voice through a narrow tunnel, then around a rusted corner. His hands touched the rough walls to feel his path. After a moment, he saw a shape on the ground, small, curled, shaking. He raised his flashlight just a little, and he saw her, an alien girl. Maybe 10 or 11 years old. Her skin was pale blue and covered in dust. Her hair looked like silver threads stuck to her face. One leg was bent the wrong way. She was bleeding. She was trying to push herself up, but she failed each time. When the light touched her, she looked up at Ryan with wide, frightened eyes. Ryan stepped back. He had never been this close to an alien child. Humans were not liked in this city. Many aliens treated them as weak, dirty, or useless. If someone saw him near her, he would be blamed, maybe punished. Maybe worse, he could leave. He could pretend he saw nothing. It would be safer, but her small hand lifted toward him. Her fingers trembled. She was crying without making a sound, her mouth shaking. Ryan looked at her leg again. He knew pain. He knew what it meant to be alone and helpless. The memory of himself, smaller and crying in the dark, came to him. No one had helped him then. He knelt beside her slowly. "Hey, don't be scared," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." The alien girl blinked. A tear rolled down her cheek. She pointed behind Ryan with shaking fear. He turned and looked into the darkness. A long shadow moved. A growl echoed through the tunnel deep, low. And getting closer, something was coming. Ryan felt fear climb up his spine, but he grabbed the girl's arm gently. "You need to get up," he whispered. "We have to go. Now." The girl nodded weakly. Ryan helped her stand. She cried in pain, but tried to walk. The growl came again, louder now, and something scraped against the metal floor. Ryan tightened his grip on her hand and pulled her forward. Deep inside the sewer, danger followed. But Ryan did not look back. He had made his choice. He was going to save her. Ryan pulled the limping alien girl as fast as he could. But the old sewer floor was uneven and slippery. Every few steps, she stumbled and cried softly. He tried to support her, but she was small and weak, and fear made her legs shake. Behind them, the growls kept echoing. bouncing across the metal pipes like whispers from a monster hunting in the dark. Ryan didn't know what creature it was. Some nights he heard strange noises from tunnels he never dared to enter. He had seen scratch marks on walls before, marks bigger than his hand. But he never imagined one of those creatures would come this close. The girl gasped, "It's coming. Please, don't leave me." "I'm not leaving you," Ryan said, even though his own voice shook. "We just need to reach a safer tunnel." He guided her through a narrow passage that twisted like a snake. Only someone who grew up in these tunnels would know where it led. Ryan had explored it many times when running from patrol bots. At the end of the passage was a small round pipe that opened into a larger tunnel where the water flowed deeper. If they could reach that pipe, maybe they could hide. But halfway through the passage, the creature's growl suddenly grew louder. Much louder. It sounded like it had found their trail. The girl froze. "It smells me," she whispered. "They said it can smell fear." Ryan swallowed. "Who said?" She didn't answer. Her eyes stared at the darkness behind them. Ryan tightened his grip on her hand. "Come on, just a little more." They reached the round pipe. Ryan knelt and helped her crawl inside first. She pushed herself, using her hands, her injured leg dragging behind. Ryan crawled after her, pulling the pipe cover closed behind him with a loud, metallic click. The noise echoed far down the connecting tunnels. Then everything went silent. Ryan held his breath. The alien girl did too. For a moment, they only heard their own heartbeats thumping inside the small pipe. Then bang. Something hit the pipe from outside, hard. The metal shook slightly. The creature snarled, and claws scraped across the pipe. The sound felt like needles running through their bones. The girl covered her mouth to stop a scream. Ryan whispered, "Don't move. Don't make a sound." They waited. The creature sniffed around, its low breathing almost touching the metal. It scraped once more, then growled a long, frustrated sound. After a few tense moments, its steps faded further and further away. Ryan let out a shaky breath. The girl looked ready to faint. He whispered, "We have to keep going before it comes back." Ryan crawled forward and pushed open the far end of the pipe. They dropped into a larger tunnel where water flowed ankle-deep. The girl gripped his shoulder, trying to stay balanced. She looked pale and scared, but she was still trying to stand strong. "What's your name?" Ryan asked softly as they walked. "Lyra," she said. "My name is Lyra." "I'm Ryan," he replied. Lyra nodded weakly. "Thank you for helping me. I didn't think any human would." Ryan didn't know what she meant by that, but he didn't ask. They had more important things to worry about. They moved deeper into the tunnel until Ryan stopped near an old metal ladder that reached up to a sealed war maintenance door. He pointed. "We can rest behind that door. No one goes there." Lyra stared at him with hope and fear mixed. "Can we reach it?" Ryan nodded. "I'll help you climb." He lifted her carefully, guiding her good foot onto each rung. She hissed in pain, but held on. When they reached the top, Ryan pushed the door open with his shoulder. Dust fell from above, and the smell of old machines filled the air. Inside was a forgotten room. His hidden place. He helped Lyra sit down on an old blanket. She shivered, but smiled faintly. "Thank you, Ryan," she whispered. I thought I would die down there." Ryan sat beside her, listening to the distant echo of the sewer. He didn't know yet, but helping her would change everything in his life. Inside the forgotten maintenance room, everything felt still. The air was heavy with old dust, and broken machines lay across the floor like silent metal skeletons. Rusted tools hung from the walls. A single cracked light bulb above them flickered weakly, giving the whole room a strange, ghost-like glow. Ryan helped Lyra lie down on the softest part of his blanket. Her leg was shaking, and her face was pale from pain. He hurried to his small metal box in the corner box where he kept every useful thing he ever found. Inside it were cloth strips, some bandages he traded for, and a small half bottle of clean water. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. "This might hurt a little," Ryan said softly. Lyra nodded. She was trying to be brave, but her hands trembled. Ryan cleaned her wound with the water, wiping away the dirt and blood. Lyra bit her lip hard, trying not to cry out. When he gently pressed the cloth around her leg, her eyes filled with tears she couldn't hide. "You're doing great," he said. "Just hold on." When he finished, Lyra let out a weak sigh of relief. "Humans don't have to help us," she whispered. "Why did you help me?" Ryan sat beside her. "Because I know what it's like," he said simply. "To be hurt. To be alone." Lyra looked at him with soft eyes. She had grown up in a world where humans were treated as lower beings, workers, servants, forgotten people. She had never imagined a human child would risk his life to save her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The room was quiet. Too quiet. A sudden thump echoed from the other side of the door. Then another. Ryan froze. Lyra pulled her injured leg closer, fear rising again. He held up a finger, telling her to stay silent. More footsteps. Slow. Searching, Ryan crept to the door and pressed his ear against the cold metal. The steps were heavy, far heavier than a normal person's. He leaned carefully, trying to hear better. Then, voices. Deep voices. "Scan this area," one of them growled. Ryan's heart dropped. Kidnappers. He remembered the growls in the tunnels. The creature might have been following the trail, but these men, they were different. They were intelligent, determined, and they wanted Lyra. "Her tracker is damaged," another voice said. "But she must still be inside these tunnels." Ryan stepped back from the door. His breath quickened. Lyra was staring at him with wide, wet eyes. "They found me," she whispered. "Ryan, they found me?" He said. "They won't get in." This room is hidden, but he wasn't completely sure. The door was strong, but old. The kidnappers sounded close to close. The footsteps moved away slowly, the metal clanging under their boots. Ryan waited, pressing his hand on Lyra's shoulder to calm her. After what felt like an hour, the noise faded. "They'll return," Lyra whispered. Ryan nodded. "We need to move soon. But first, you should rest." Lyra leaned her head back against the wall. "My father told me never to enter the lower city," she said softly. "He said it was dangerous. But I didn't listen. And now this happened." Ryan looked at her curiously. "Your father. Who is he?" "A city officer," she said. I ran away after an argument. I didn't know they would chase me." Ryan blinked. A city officer's daughter. That meant powerful enemies, and powerful people searching for her. He sighed. "Then we should leave even faster." Lyra stared at him. "You're not scared of what they'll do to you for helping me?" Ryan thought for a moment. "Maybe I'm scared," he said quietly. "But I'm more scared of leaving you alone." Lyra's eyes shined with emotion. Ryan stood up and looked around the room. He grabbed a small metal pole he used as a weapon, then tightened his torn jacket. "Get some strength," he said. "Soon we're going to try something dangerous." Lyra nodded, her hands gripping the blanket. Outside, faint, echoing footsteps began again. Ryan took a deep breath. The next part of their journey was about to begin. Ryan stood in the dusty maintenance room, staring at the metal door as faint echoes drifted through the tunnels. The kidnappers were surging again. He recognized the rhythm of their heavy boots. They moved slowly, but with the confidence of people who believed nothing could stop them. Their shadows slid across the gaps under the door like dark water. Lyra hugged the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Her injured leg was still shaking. "Ryan," she whispered, "what if they find this place? They're trained. They know the sewers." Ryan swallowed his fear. He didn't want her to see how scared he was, too. "They don't know every path," he said. "These tunnels are confusing. I've lived here for years. I know shortcuts they'll never find." Even so, the footsteps outside were slow, patient, and terrifying. Ryan motioned for Lyra to stay silent. He crouched and placed his ear on the door again. The kidnappers stopped right outside the maintenance room. Not moving, just listening. Ryan held his breath. One of the men spoke. "Open every door, every hatch, every old room. That girl is close." Lyra's hand clutched Ryan's sleeve. Her eyes pleaded, "Do something." Ryan whispered, "Get ready. If they come in, we run through the vent." He pointed to a small square vent near the ceiling. The cover was loose. He had used it many times to escape patrol bots. The tunnel inside was tiny and hard to move through, but it led to a deeper sewer path. If they could reach it, maybe they could lose the kidnappers again. But first, they had to survive the next few seconds. The metal handle on the door rattled. Lyra gasped silently and covered her mouth. Ryan lifted his metal pole, his hands shaking. He was ready to fight even, though he knew a thin boy and a limping girl had no chance against two grown alien criminals. The door rattled again. Harder this time. "Locked," one of the kidnappers muttered. "Break it." Ryan's heart jumped. He looked at the vent. He looked at Lyra. She understood instantly. He whispered, "Climb, now." Lyra pushed herself up. Ryan helped her stand, lifting most of her weight. Her hands gripped the broken shelf under the vent, and she struggled to pull herself up. Her legs screamed with pain, but she bit her lip and didn't stop. The door banged again. Boom. A crack formed near the hinge. "Faster, Lyra," Ryan whispered desperately. She pushed herself inside the vent. Half her body disappeared as she pulled with her arms. Ryan climbed up behind her, lifting her good foot forward. Boom. Another strike. The door was breaking. Lyra was finally inside. "Ryan, come." He grabbed the edge of the vent when the door burst open with a violent crash. Two large alien men stormed inside. Their masks were black, with red glowing eyes. They carried shock rods and scanners. The room filled with dust and echoing metal. "There," one of them shouted, pointing at Ryan. Ryan didn't think. He jumped into the vent and pulled the cover closed behind him. A shock rod slammed into the metal, sending a loud ringing sound through the tunnel. Sparks flew. The kidnappers cursed. One tried to pull the vent cover open, but the tunnel was too small for them to enter. Ryan crawled fast, pushing Lyra ahead of him. "Hurry, they'll try another exit." Lyra breathed hard. I'm trying." Behind them, the kidnappers shouted orders. Metal clanged. They were searching for another way into the vents. The vent tunnel sloped downward and twisted sharply. Ryan's knees scraped against the metal. Lyra's hands slipped, but she kept moving. The air grew colder as they crawled deeper. Finally, the vent opened into a dark chamber with a dripping sound. They fell out onto the wet floor, gasping for breath. We got away," Lyra whispered, shaking. Ryan wasn't so sure. He listened. Far above them, the kidnappers' voices echoed faintly, but they were angry, and they were not giving up. Ryan looked at Lyra and said, "We need to go deeper. This time, we must reach the tunnels even I never entered." Lyra stared at him, terrified yet trusting him completely. Their most dangerous journey was about to begin. The chamber they had fallen into was colder, darker, and far more silent than any place Ryan had ever been. Even the usual sounds of dripping water seemed distant, as if the sewer itself held its breath. Ryan stood up slowly, helping Lyra lean against the wall so she could rest her injured leg. Where are we?" Lyra whispered, her voice shaky. Ryan looked around. The tunnel was wider here, with large pipes twisting like giant metal snakes along the ceiling. Strange symbols, old warning signs were painted on the walls. He had seen these marks before, but never dared to go past them. "This is the lower zone," Ryan said quietly. "No patrol bots come here. No workers. Even the gangs avoid it." Lyra's eyes widened. "Is it dangerous?" "Yes," he admitted. "But it's the only place the kidnappers won't search right away." He listened carefully. Far in the distance, he could still hear faint echoes, angry voices, clanging metal, and the powerful stomps of boots. The kidnappers were spreading out, scanning every tunnel they could find. They were relentless. Ryan turned to Lyra. "We need to move before they figure out we came down here." Lyra took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "Okay," she said softly. "I trust you." Her words surprised him. Trust was rare in this city. Trust between humans and aliens was almost impossible. But somehow, in the dark, wet sewers, trust had grown. Ryan guided her along the tunnel. His flashlight flickered weakly, showing only small pieces of the path ahead. Strange shapes lay on. The ground-old machines, broken pipes, and piles of rusted bolts. Every few minutes, Lyra stumbled, and Ryan caught her before she fell. "You're doing great," he told her each time. But the deeper they went, the stranger the tunnels became. The walls changed from smooth metal to rough stone. The air felt heavier, almost electric. And Ryan began to hear low humming noises like the sound of an engine buried underground. Lyra suddenly stopped. "Do you hear that?" He nodded. "Yes, but I don't know what it is." They continued until the tunnel opened into a massive underground cavern. The ceiling was so high that their flashlight couldn't reach it. Pipes and old machinery hung like metal vines. Pools of dark water reflected distant, dripping lights. It looked like an ancient part of the city, forgotten by everyone above. Lyra stared in awe. "It's beautiful, in a strange way." Ryan didn't say anything. He had never imagined a place like this existed. They walked across the metal bridge that stretched over the cavern. The metal creaked under their feet. Halfway across, Lyra grabbed Ryan's sleeve tightly. "Someone's coming," she whispered. Ryan listened. At first, he heard nothing, but then came a faint clicking sound. Slow, sharp, repeating. It was not the sound of boots. It was something else. "Stay behind me," he said. From the shadows under the bridge, a creature climbed up. Its body was thin like metal wires wrapped in skin, and its eyes glowed faint white. It looked almost mechanical, like a leftover experiment left to rot. It crawled onto the bridge, blocking their path. Lyra's voice shook. "Ryan, what is that?" "I don't know," he said. "But don't run." Slow steps. The creature tilted its head, studying them. Then it let out a clicking cry. More clicking responded from deeper in the cavern. More of them were coming. Ryan's heart thumped loudly. They couldn't fight. They couldn't run back. The kidnappers might already be near the upper tunnels. Their only choice was forward. He grabbed Lyra's hand. "When I say run, run. But it will catch us. I won't let it." The creature moved closer, its legs scraping the bridge. Ryan waited for the right moment. Then, now. They ran across the bridge as fast as Lyra's injured leg allowed. The creature let out a scream and chased after them. The bridge shook with every step. "Ryan!" Lyra cried. "Just a little more," he shouted back. They reached the end of the bridge just as the creature leaped toward them. Ryan slammed his shoulder into a control lever beside the Exciton old, rusted one he hoped still worked. The bridge groaned, then collapsed. The creature plunged downward into the dark water below, screeching. Lyra collapsed into Ryan's arms, shaking with shock. "Are we safe?" she whispered. "For now," he said, breathing hard. But deep inside the cavern, more clicking echoed. They had escaped one danger, only to enter another. Ryan and Lyra moved deeper into the cavern, the cold air brushing against their skin like icy fingers. The clicking creatures behind them grew distant, but the sound echoed just enough to remind them they were not alone. Ryan held Lyra's hand tightly, guiding her over broken pipes and uneven metal plates scattered across the ground. Lyra's steps grew slower. "Ryan, I can't go much farther," she whispered. Ryan looked at her leg. The bandage was soaked through, and she was shivering. He felt a heavy knot form in his chest. She needed help, real help, not the scraps and old cloth he had. "We're close," he said gently, though he wasn't fully sure. "I think there's a path that leads to the upper vents. From there, maybe we can reach the city." Lyra nodded weakly. She trusted him completely now, even in her pain. But before they could take another step, a new noise filled the cavern, loud metallic crash. Pipes trembled. Dust fell from above. Ryan's eyes widened. The kidnappers had found another way in. Voices echoed from the far opening of the cavern. "Track them. The scanners say they came this way." Lyra froze. "Ryan, they're here." He looked around quickly. There was nowhere to hide, except for a narrow side tunnel, too small for adults, but big enough for children. "Through there," he whispered, pointing. Lyra tried to move, but her injured leg gave out. She stumbled forward with a cry of pain. Ryan caught her before she hit the ground, but her cry was enough. From far across the cavern, one of the kidnappers shouted, They're in here." Spotlights shot across the cavern, lighting up the shadows. Ryan felt his breath freeze. They were seen. The two kidnappers stepped onto the metal ground, shock rods glowing blue in their hands, scanners flashing red as they locked onto Lyra. "Give us the girl," one growled. "The boy can run. We only need her." Lyra clutched Ryan's arm, terrified. "No, please, Ryan, don't leave me." Ryan didn't move. He stepped in front of her, holding nothing but his old metal pole. He looked like a thin, tired boy in torn clothes, but his eyes were sharp and fierce. "You're not taking her," he said quietly. The kidnappers laughed. "A sewer boy wants to be brave. Move aside before you get hurt." Ryan didn't step aside. He tightened his grip on the pole. His hands trembled, not because of fear, but because of how much he was willing to risk. Lyra whispered, "Ryan, don't. They'll kill you." He glanced back at her. "If they take you, I'll lose you anyway." Her eyes filled with tears. The kidnappers grew impatient. One raised his shock rod and charged forward. Ryan swung the metal pole with all his strength. The pole hit the ground near the kidnapper's feet, splashing dirty water, but the hit distracted him long enough for Ryan to grab a handful of sand and throw it toward the man's mask. The kidnapper cursed, blinded for a moment. Ryan grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run," she tried, but her leg couldn't hold her. She collapsed again. The second kidnapper grabbed Ryan by the collar and lifted him like a rag doll. Ryan kicked and fought, but the man slammed him against the metal floor. Pain shot through his back. "Stupid boy," the kidnapper snarled. "You risk your life for a girl who isn't even your kind." Ryan struggled for breath, but he still managed to say, "No one helped me when I needed it. I won't be like them." The kidnapper raised his shock rod to strike. But a voice thundered across the cavern, "Stop." Bright white lights cut through the darkness. Heavy armored boots marched in. Ryan blinked through the pain. Dozens of city guards surrounded the kidnappers, and standing in front of them was a tall alien with silver hair and glowing blue eyes. Lyra gasped. "Father." Her father stepped forward, fury in his eyes. "You dared touch my daughter." The kidnappers froze. Ryan lay on the floor, bleeding and exhausted as Lyra crawled toward him. Lyra's father knelt beside the human boy. "You protected her," he whispered, "even when it meant death." Ryan tried to speak, but he lost strength. Lyra caught his hand tightly. "Stay with me, Ryan, please." The cavern spun around him. He had saved her. But his fight was not over yet. Everything was about to change. Ryan drifted in and out of consciousness as strong hands lifted him from the cold metal ground. Voices echoed around him, guards shouting orders, Lyra calling his name, her father arguing furiously with the kidnappers. But everything felt distant, like he was underwater. When Ryan finally opened his eyes again, he was lying on something soft. A warm light shined above him, not the dim, flickering sewer light he was used to, but a gentle, golden one. He blinked several times, confused. "Ryan!" Lyra's voice. She rushed to his side, her leg wrapped neatly with real medical bandages. She looked clean, warm, and safe, nothing like the trembling, injured girl he had found in the sewers. Ryan pushed himself up slowly. His back hurt, but the pain wasn't as sharp as before. He looked around. He wasn't in the sewers anymore. He lay inside a clean medical room with white walls, glowing screens, and soft blankets. Air purifiers hummed quietly. Everything smelled fresh. The room felt peaceful, almost unreal. Lyra's father stood near the door, watching him with a serious expression. He was tall, dressed in a rich officer's coat, and guards stood behind him. But his face wasn't cold, was full of respect. "You're awake," Lyra whispered, tears gathering in her eyes. "I was so scared you wouldn't wake up." Ryan tried to sit straighter, embarrassed. Did they catch the kidnappers?" Lyra nodded. "Father arrested them. They will never hurt anyone again." Ryan sighed with relief. Then he looked down at himself, clean clothes, bandaged ribs, warm blankets. He didn't belong here. "I should go," he whispered. "Humans aren't allowed in these places." Lyra grabbed his arm before he could stand. "No, you're staying." Ryan blinked in confusion. Lyra's father stepped forward, his voice firm but warm. "You saved my daughter's life," he said. "You risked everything, even when you had nothing. You protected her better than any guard I hired." Ryan lowered his eyes, not knowing what to say. The officer continued, "I owe you a debt that can never be repaid, but I will try. Starting now." Ryan looked up slowly. "You will not return to the sewers," the officer said. "Those tunnels nearly killed you. They are no place for a child." Ryan felt his chest tighten. "But I don't have anywhere else." "You do now," the officer replied. "Here, with us." Ryan stared at him, shocked. Lyra smiled widely. "Father wants you to live here at least until you grow strong. You'll have food, a bed, a warm room, and you won't be alone anymore." Ryan could barely breathe. The sewers had been his whole world, dark, cold, unforgiving. And now a door he never imagined possible was open in front of him. "But I'm human," he whispered. "People in the city don't like us." The officer knelt to Ryan's eye level. "And you changed that?" he said. "Today, dozens of guards witnessed a human boy standing against armed kidnappers to protect my daughter. They will talk. Others will hear. This city will see humans differently because of you." Ryan's eyes slowly filled with tears he tried to hide. Lyra gently wiped them away. "Ryan, you're my hero." He looked at her girl he had found bleeding in the dark, who was now smiling at him with warmth he had never known. The officer placed a protective hand on Ryan's shoulder. "You have a future now. A real one." For the first time in years, Ryan felt hope. Not the small, weak hope he held in the sewers. This was strong, bright, and real. A hope that filled his entire chest. As the sun rose outside the tall windows, Ryan sat up straighter. He felt the light on his face, warm, gentle, and full of promise. This was the day everything changed. A poor human boy who once lived deep underground was now the hero who united two worlds, and his journey had only just begun.